My name is Sarah Hudson.
And my name is Yvonne Harvey.
And you're tuned into the Malc Show. How does that look?
You are now tuned in to Sure-Handed TV.
It's the Malc Show, baby.
Oh, Lord.
We're here with Mrs. Sarah Harvey Hudson and Mrs. Yvonne. Is it Harvey?
Mm-hmm.
Yvonne?
Yes, Yvonne.
Yvonne. Now, I want to, before we start and get into everything, I want to go back to the beginning of whether it's childhood or how you grew up. And you're not originally from West Palm Beach.
No.
You're from Perry, Georgia.
Perry, Georgia. Yes.
How was it growing up in Georgia for you all?
Well, growing up in Georgia, we had two different experiences because we were at two different ages. You know, my sister is 2 years older than I am, and she left home at a very early age. I stayed, we grew up in Perry, Georgia, in a very small community called Old Field. But I stayed there until I graduated from high school. You know, my sister didn't. But growing up in Perry, during that particular time, and probably still, was not easy for black families. There was nothing easy about growing up in a black family in Perry, Georgia. But it wasn't so hard. We were not enslaved, you know. They couldn't make us do anything. But you couldn't go through town. If you walked through town, you had to walk through the back streets. You know, we had to walk to school every morning and walk back every day, and we had to go through town to get on the other side of town to school. But we couldn't go through town. We had to go through the back streets to get there.
Was it because of the segregation, how segregated it was?
Yes.
And through the towns, was it just a lot of white families there? Or?
The town was white. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the town was white, and it was all white. There was one block in our town that was owned by black families, and it was the Collins family. And they had a shoe shop, and they had a upholstery shop, but it was about 5 or 6 businesses that the Collins owned on that one block. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the town was white. And we had to take the back streets to school. And so that was, I went to school, we walked to school that way from the time I was in first grade until about 10th grade. And then we lived in a community called Old Field. They built a high school in Old Field. And so I finished high school in my own neighborhood, a neighborhood school. You know, not walking 3 miles or 5 miles to school.
How did you all families function at that time? I know you couldn't walk through certain neighborhoods. Now, what about the stores? How were you able to buy your food? Did you have to go to all black stores, or how was it then as far as getting food and just going into the neighborhoods to go to the markets?
Well, you had some markets there. Sears Catalog was our best friend. Montgomery Ward Catalog was our best friend. When we got ready to go to school and had to get school clothes, my mama pulled the catalogs out and said, "Okay, you pick something out there." The merchandise and the mercantile stores in Perry, you were not allowed to try on clothes in there. Yeah, you could go there maybe and choose something, and then they may let you take it home. You buy it and take it home, but you couldn't try anything on in the stores.
Wow. Well, you couldn't bring it back either.
Yeah, and you could not return it. So the catalogs was your best friend. Hey, who y'all order from now? Amazon. Amazon is a takeoff on Sears, Montgomery Ward, because you could order everything from Sears, Montgomery Ward, and those catalogs.
So was that pretty much the Amazon back then?
Yes,
It was the Amazon.
Was it? Well, did you have to order it, or was it?
You had to order
No, you
it.
order it.
It was in the book.
It was in the
You
book.
ordered it out of the book. They sent it to you.
You got a big old beautiful catalog. About what, 3 times a year?
Yeah.
You got spring, summer,
And
winter. Yeah, and appliances. Everything was in the catalog. You know, and so you ordered out of the catalog. And that was how. But now this is a very small town.
Right.
Yeah, you know. So, but we didn't shop downtown.
I think that the people didn't like the fact that they could not try. The black folk didn't like the fact that they could not try on anything.
Right.
So that meant that they weren't going to go downtown and shop. The base, the Air Force Base, was close to Perry, and that was a source where most of the people worked at the Air Force Base, so they had money. Mm-hmm. So they would go to cities if they needed to buy something.
You could go to Macon.
Go to Macon, Georgia, 28 miles north. Go to Atlanta, 90 miles north, where it was not quite that way. You know, of course they didn't get treated
But the thing is, you didn't have cars either. I mean, it wasn't a lot of cars. Like in our neighborhood, there may have been maybe 10
people
families
who worked
that
at Wallarotta's had cars. Because they made
But the
money.
average family didn't have a car. We didn't have a car in my family. I think the first car we had was a 1956. Was it 1956 Chevrolet? Chevrolet.
So how many brothers and sisters did you grow up with? And without cars, was it a little hard for you all to get around, or?
No, we walked everywhere.
Everywhere we went.
And you weren't allowed to ride in a car.
I had a brother. We had one brother, and we had one sister. My sister was older, and she was older, and she always kind of had boyfriends with cars.
But not only that, but because of the times, the parents didn't let girls ride in the cars.
Yeah.
You couldn't ride in a car if you were found riding in a car and it was not your uncle or the minister of the church, you got punished severely.
Wow.
We had to walk everywhere we
You
went.
walked everywhere.
So you all were in Perry, Georgia. What made you move here in West Palm, or did you move here in West Palm initially?
Yes, I was 16 and decided I wanted to get married at 16. So I got married. I married my husband at 16, and he lived in West Palm Beach. So I had to move. I had to live in West Palm Beach, and that was in 1955. I was 16 years old. But I finished high school because at that time, in 1955, in the state of Florida, you could finish high school as a married student. I was a married student. I finished high school, and then when I finished high school, my sister was still in, you were what?
I was still in high school.
She was still in high school, but I think you were in 10th grade?
10th grade. Mm-hmm.
So for 2 years, I was here with my husband and myself. But when she finished high school, then she came to live with me so that she could work and go to college. She worked 2 years, or was it a year and a half?
I was 2 years. Mm-hmm.
And she saved her money, and she went back to school. She went to Tuskegee. However, when she finished Tuskegee, she wanted to come back here to work, and she did. She came back, she started to work, and then that was when we started to thinking about trying to do some investments.
When was your first investment as far as to renting out the tenants, and what type of investment did you make, and did you need a lot of money at that time?
At that time, we had a few dollars between the two of us, because as the years went by, we saved a little money. We didn't have a lot of money. What did we have? $5,000?
Yeah, maybe about 5,000, 10,000.
We may have had
we didn't have 10.
We didn't have 10. I think we had five between the two of us. But I figured that if I could rent my house, which I lived in, and take that money and put it in an investment property, move out of that house, move into the investment property, then we would have the money from that house to help pay the bills moving forward with some investments. We thought it was a good idea to do it that way. So that's what we did. We didn't have any money, but we had jobs, and we figured out how we could take the money from our jobs and a little bit of income that we were getting from the house that I already owned, and then that would give us the money to build a business, and that's how we got started.
And I'm sorry, Miss Yvonne, you were a nurse at the time.
And I was working in Baltimore, and I was making a much better salary than I was making when I was working here in Florida, see. So by me working in Baltimore and making a much better salary, my salary could support if we needed to get a loan from the bank. My salary could support a loan from the bank, but then I could also send money to pay whatever deficits we had.
So you were in Baltimore. You moved to West Palm.
Right.
She was in West Palm.
And were y'all just pretty much just working over the phone, or working back and forth from different states?
No.
Yeah, we were always talking backwards and forwards on the phone. Yeah. She was, and I was in and out of Florida. I mean, I was living in Baltimore, but I was in and out of Florida probably almost at least every 3 months. Yeah, I'd be back, and then I'd go back to Baltimore. So I was in and out of Florida quite frequently, and then at one point I had a job that I traveled a lot, so I had a lot of freedom on the job where I worked. So I could come in and go out, come in and go out. So
and
that was
you all's first property was a
fourplex.
Was a fourplex.
Yeah.
In 1972.
Here
in Riviera Beach on Blue Heron.
Right.
On Blue Heron Boulevard.
How did that start? How do you get that? Did you all you've never taken out a loan from a bank? Was that $5,000 that you had apart or for that fourplex?
Well, we financed it in two different ways. The people who owned it financed part of the loan, and the banks loaned us the rest. Yes, they did. Remember the bank that
was it $5,000?
Yeah, it was $5,000 or $10,000 or something like that. The bank loaned us a minimal amount of money. It was like $5,000 or $10,000.
Might have been $5,000.
And then the people who owned it were two sisters. And they were women, and so they financed. They took the loan back. They took the note back, and so we paid them.
Because we paid $60,000 for the buildings, and
we paid the bank. We owed
the bank $6,000, I believe.
Yeah, and they
financed the rest of it
it.
Because they own the building almost free and clear.
Right, they did own it free and clear.
And so there was no reason for them to deny us the opportunity to buy it because they wanted to sell.
Who were your first tenants?
The first tenant?
Well, all the people that were in there moved out when we bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it was a
people that were in there were white.
It was a time of transition.
Yeah.
So once we bought the property and they found out who we were, of course they were not going to rent from us.
Moved out. Now, she moved in one of the apartments. Okay, so the other 3 were for rent. So, and they knew who she was, you know. So, and that
And
she was
so
part,
we-
and that she was owner. You
And
know,
so,
and
of
so
course,
the-
everything was vacated. But fortunately, there were nice apartments, and there were people who were willing to come over from the west side, where the rent was a little bit cheaper, but the apartments were not as nice. So we were able to get some tenants. It wasn't that easy, but we were able to get some tenants and to keep some.
But like now, people were really looking for a decent
Yeah.
place to live. You know, they wanted quietness, they wanted safety, they wanted a decent place to live. You know, and people now are still looking for a decent place to live. They want quietness, they want safety.
Yes.
You know, and cleanliness. You know, and so the property looked good and was well taken care of. You know, and so
And we did all the work.
Now you mentioned the loan that you got from the bank, but as 2 black women, 2 black sisters, working or trying to get a loan, was that hard for you? The first loan that they gave you all? 'Cause I know you mentioned that it was
Very
it was
difficult.
still hard.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
They didn't even want. I'm trying to remember, and I'm not sure that I have this right. I was trying to remember how we got to the $5,000
Well, remember, I took the loan out because my salary
for the 5,000.
No, for whatever the bank loaned us, because my salary would support.
I think that's probably all it was support was the
Yeah,
5,000.
but that's
how we got to the 5,000.
I took the loan out at the bank, so it was in my name. And then the people that own it took the rest of it.
Well, they didn't. But as I remember correctly,
No, it was
the
about
people who
10,000.
owned it allowed us to just pay them because they didn't have to borrow any money. They had that much equity in the building.
Well, they
You see
owned
what
it
I'm
free
saying?
and clear.
Right.
Them sisters had paid for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So
Well, you said you had your name for the loan. I remember us when we spoke earlier. You were saying that you couldn't get it was hard for you to get a car or anything else with your name on it.
absolutely, and that's why I'm not really. I can't recall how we were able to get that loan.
They loaned it to me.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, I put
Maybe
the
so.
application in. I was working up in Baltimore.
Okay.
And I put the application
Maybe it was
in.
because she was working in
Yeah, because I
Baltimore.
was working
And
in
her salary
Baltimore
was
at a
not
salary.
right.
My salary supported
Yeah.
the evidence to pay for the loan. So they loaned it to me, and I was working in Baltimore.
What's an ideal down payment for a fourplex or a duplex or a house or even an apartment?
At this time or at that time?
Both.
At that time, I think maybe $12,000 or $15,000 would have been the amount of money that you would have to pay if the bank did loan you the money. But the difficulty came when you didn't have the income to substantiate $60,000.
Payment. Yeah, right.
So that was why it was so difficult for anyone who didn't have a job paying $80,000 a year to get any property or you could get an FHA loan, but not usually on a building like that. It was probably difficult because during that time, houses was only like $25,000. You know, the houses in the Riviera Beach was real cheap.
Really cheap.
But a commercial building was $60,000 or $70,000. And the bank was not going to loan you that kind of money.
How did you maintain your income for as far as buying your first duplex and starting to get your tenants?
Word of mouth. We got tenants because you got to remember that we were the only blacks over there at that time.
And people
blacks wanted to live in there. But you remember the housing discrimination during those years was really not, it was bad. So they weren't going to rent to any black people over there because the white folks owned all that. On Blue Heron, white folks owned all that. We were the first black women, black people to own anything in that corridor.
Wow.
So when we got over there, people wanted to, there were black people who made a little money, they wanted to live over there. So the rent was a little bit higher, but they didn't care. They wanted to be in a better area.
It was closer to the water as well.
It's close to the water.
And then it was a better
area.
address. It was a better address when they got ready to go.
We just thought it was
when they got
ready,
when they got ready to go make a loan themselves, or they got ready to negotiate themselves. If you have a better address, you've got a little bit more power when you go for to make a loan. You know, if you go to a bank and ask for a loan, and you living in,
you have an address.
If I go to the bank to get for a loan at Breakers, they gonna look at my address. So what's your area code? I tell them what my area code is. Oh, okay, yeah. You know, I mean, all I have to do is sign my name.
Right.
So you know, but if you're living someplace else, your address makes a big difference when you go to negotiate for a loan.
And it was just prestigious to be over there. We didn't know that. We didn't even think about that because all we were doing was trying to just get some business started. Right. We weren't trying to be prestigious. That never even entered my mind, nor my sister's mind, because we didn't have time for that.
No, but the people who were too busy trying to keep what we had.
But the people who wanted to live over there thought, oh, that's a prestigious address. But it never occurred to me that that's what they thought. Because we weren't thinking in that vein.
But now within 3 years of purchasing that building, we bought another building
right down the street.
Right down the street, and that was a 2-story building with 4 2-bedroom units in it. You know, and that's on Blue Heron Boulevard also. Right. So
and so we were fortunate
increased
enough,
our revenue,
and we were fortunate enough. We paid that, we put our money together, and we paid I believe it was $16,000 to the people who owned that building. But they had a $27,000 mortgage at the bank. The bank would not let us have the money for whatever reason, or take over the loan. So what we did was we paid on that loan, the 27. We paid them the $16,000. And then we paid on the loan for a few years until we could get the money to pay the $27,000 off in their names. But we had a side agreement, a legal document, that if we paid it off in their names, we would own it. So therefore,
when we paid it off,
we
got a quick claim deed. Got a
so
quick claim
we
deed,
owned it.
and then it belonged to us.
It was a 4-unit building, and the way we got the money to pay it off was, at that time, my sister was here. She helped me take care of my daughter. So I found a little foreclosure. We got that little foreclosure. I fixed it up. My sister took care of my daughter. I was working a job, but I went down on weekends and every time I got a chance to fix it up, rented it out. It was a 4-2. I sold that house for $27,000. That was exactly what we owed those people at the bank. I put all that $27,000, not
pay off that building.
Paid off that building. So now we own 8 units free and clear. So that's
within a
really-
period of 4 years.
Yeah, but it was not easy.
And that's both of the two fourplexes.
Right. So then, of course, then we could venture out because we had capital income or positive income flow. Before we didn't have that.
We had documented income
Positive income
that
flow.
that the businessman could take a look at it and say,
But I
okay,
never borrowed anything.
yeah,
from
okay,
the
we
bank.
can loan you some money. Yeah,
No, I never.
Did you spend any? Because once you paid for the house and was able to own it for the $27,000, did you just not spend a lot of money?
We didn't spend any money.
Not for well, I had a salary, so I spent my money for my salary. I spent it on my personal needs. That's where I spent my money. But the money that we were getting, we spent it on the expenses for
and
the buildings.
to put it back,
To
right
put
back
it back,
in the business.
yeah, to put it back in the
constantly.
business.
And
yeah.
so then, after that, we had positive cash flow. So we took that positive cash flow and we started to buy foreclosure homes. And you could get a home if you had some cash for little money. We bought the house, we fixed it up, we sold it. That gave us a little bit more cash to invest. But we never spent any of that money. We invested it. Everything that was made practically for the first few years, we reinvested it because we didn't have any opportunity to use the bank's money, so we had to use our money.
You both seem like the greatest duo ever.
Not me,
Now you all are sisters, and I know it could be difficult working with someone, whether it's a close friend or a sibling. How do you all work together with it involving money as well? How did you all work together and just keep business and keep the love of that you have for your sister?
Well, it was easy because
Number one, respect. I know her, she knows me. We are as different as chalk and cheese. I respect the difference. I respect her wherever whatever she wants to do. I say, okay, it's all right with me. I'll go ahead and, what do you need to do it? Because I know her and I respect her decisions.
Right.
Now she know me. She know I'm only going to do so much and go so far. And she'll say, well, you may not like this, but I say, well, okay, go ahead and do it.
Well,
I respect her
probably
judgment,
key,
a business judgment.
Yeah, is that she realizes that I'm not going to take anything, and that every move I make financially will benefit her one way or the other. And so, therefore, trust is a great thing.
What are your views on the partnership? Because you have a great partnership. What about someone like me or someone else that's have an idea of going into real estate, but they're by themselves?
Well, I can tell you that this is my idea. I don't know if this is the right idea, but if you have an idea for business, you need to make a plan. And if you find someone, if you don't already have someone that you can trust, then you can include them in the plan. But you must have the plan for your future yourself.
Right.
Because you can't Yvonne and I have always been sisters. And so we've always looked out for each other, even from little. But it's very difficult to find that kind of union in a person. So you must have, if you think you want to go into partnership with someone, you must have your plan yourself. and then to see how they fit into it and how
Into
you
your
all
plan.
can fit that puzzle together.
Yeah.
But honesty, integrity, trust, and all of that comes to play more than money. Because when you're with a partner that you cannot trust, has no integrity, you're wasting your time.
And can't believe, if you find out somebody is a liar, step away. Now,
Yeah, you're wasting
no
your time.
partnership. If they lie, step away.
What is the key to financial freedom? Well, within real estate, and then once you get the money, what do you do? Do you save it? Do you invest it?
You reinvest it.
Reinvest
it. That's the key.
That's the key.
That's how you build
Reinvest it.
business. That's how you build wealth.
Reinvest it.
Reinvest it.
every penny of it.
But reinvesting in a very thoughtful,
Right.
careful
Don't waste it.
manner. Yeah, not on something fly by night. Not somebody coming around snake oil or selling you snake
Yeah.
oil. But reinvesting in a thoughtful,
And
mindful manner, and that so that your money will grow.
Right. Because
But-
there's one thing that is key, and it is true. You can invest $10,000 in real estate, and you can make $250,000 in a very short period of time if you do it right. But if you invest $10,000 in real estate and you don't do it right, you're not going to make one dime.
It's many ways you can lose in real
One
estate.
of the ways you can lose out is not to be committed.
Yeah. Well, you could lose out if the market tanks. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad flip, because you don't always buy real estate to flip it. A lot of that's become the thing of today. But that wasn't the thing of the past.
No.
I mean, you bought real estate in the past, or at least black people bought real estate in the past to as an investment for life.
Right.
Yeah. But now it's flipping everything. But if the market goes down, that can cause you to really go, kafooey, go bad. Yeah. And if you're trying to sell, the market goes down. As long as you don't have a high mortgage on it and you're renting it, the rented market is going to stay up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, somebody going to always have to have some place to live, and somebody going to always rent it.
Do you think, or would you advise people to sell any of their properties?
I would advise anyone who has a property that they can make money on without sacrificing and taking less for their properties. Because now the game is, we'll pay you a little bit of money for your property and we will enhance it and make a lot of money. That is the game now. But if you have property and you want to enhance it, then you have to enhance it, maybe put $10,000 or $20,000 in it, enhance it, make the money yourself. That's how you make the money. That's how you get some cash. But if you don't do that, you will never get any cash, because you don't make that much money on renting something. You can't just.
It's slow money.
It's slow money.
It's not fast money.
You can't get $40,000 in the bank in a year, unless
Just
you
renting.
have
Right.
Unless you have 30 properties.
Right. Just renting, no.
Judge Rogers, I wanted to talk about him. He was the first black judge in Palm Beach County. What is his relation to y'all?
Well, Judge Rogers was the first teacher that I had when I was 16 years old, and he was a mentor that I attribute a lot of the good sense that I had, because he taught me so much without knowing it.
Right.
But he was just such a good common sense, down to earth person, and he was my teacher. And so we had a very, very good teacher-student relationship. And all through the years, we maintained a very, very good relationship. He knew that I respected him and that I respected his knowledge and his wisdom. He was a wise man. Mm-hmm. He had a lot of wisdom.
And for me, he was a very good friend and a wise
good
counselor,
friend.
very good friend. And just one of the funniest persons you ever met.
Oh,
I mean, he
his
could
sense
get
of
you
humor.
laughing, kept you laughing all the time. He was so
Yeah.
funny, you know.
Great,
So he
great
was just really
man,
a great man.
man.
Yeah.
Is he essential or been a great impact as far as you getting into real estate?
Yes, he was. Well, he was a total impact up in my total life because I was 16 and very, very impressionable at 16. But when I met him, he was a guiding force, and he talked to me, taught me, guided me, did everything he could to make sure that I was on the right path. I bought my first house,
Bought your first
21
house.
years old.
Now, for you all back then, how was it with your colleagues or your friends back then? Were they more? Because I know today, it's not many of us that's driven like you all were back then. So, how was your surroundings at that time?
Our
You mean when?
peers. Our peers.
Right.
Right, because I never associated with anyone who I perceived as not being motivated to have a better life. There were people that I met that I really liked, but I did not align myself with them. And they were girls because we were all very young, but they were doing things that I could see was not going to lead to a better life.
Right.
And I quickly decided that there were things that I needed to do to make my life better.
Right.
And those things, maybe they were fun, maybe I enjoyed them, but they were not things that was going to move me ahead. So I never aligned myself with anyone who was not moving. If I perceived you as not being a person who was motivated to have a better life, trying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, even though I might like you, but I never align myself with you. And I think that's key. Your peers are the ones who drive you. And I always associated with people who maybe they didn't have a college degree, maybe they didn't have any money, but they were motivated to want to be better people.
Right.
And that was my motivation, is that I didn't want to be with anyone who wasn't trying to make their lives better. And to today, I'm that way.
Well, your peers can pull you up or pull you down.
Well, I didn't even know about peers.
Yeah.
But
No,
what I
it
did-
wasn't. It wasn't. But your mother always said to us, your associates can either pull you up or pull you down. I mean, the current
Maybe
word
that
is
was just
peers,
because that's the
but
way
it was
we
the
were
same
raised.
thing. Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
I was that way because that's the way we were raised.
Yeah, that's the way
But
we were
I
raised.
never knew that. But what I did know is that I never aligned myself with anyone who was wasting a lot of time.
Your mother was all. That was where your mother was.
So, what has changed from then to now, whether with real estate or with people? Period. Before we go, I want to see if you all have any advice or any encouraging words for anyone wanting to get into real estate, or anyone or any woman out there, because it may still be the same behind closed doors as far as trying to get a loan or anything. But any encouraging words for those women or people trying to get in real estate, and do you have anything to say to them?
You want to go
Well,
first?
I would say First of all, girls, women, if whatever you're trying to do, whether it's real estate or anything else, do your homework. You know, find out the arena, the market that you're trying to work in. Mm-hmm. Do your homework first, and then set your goals, and set your goals within that arena and within that market. You know, and once you set your goals, you set definitely deadlines for achieving those things that you want to achieve. Right. You may have 3 goals, but set a deadline for achieving those goals. And every so often, go back and check to see if you're getting there, you know. And don't forget to have fun. That's what I say first of all. Do not forget to have fun. Because for me, if you're not having fun, life is just so boring and not worth too much. You know? So don't forget to have fun. Now, I would say that to girls, boys, whoever, you know. But you got to work it. If you're willing to work it, you'll be successful. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I would suggest that if there is a woman or man or anybody out there who wants to go into trying to make money in real estate, my suggestion is that you try to find a way to get some startup money. Now, be it work 2 jobs or 3 jobs, save your money. And there are ways in which you can take a little money and invest it in something. Don't invest it in something where you're going to waste your money, but find out who's investing in small things that's making money. Talk to people. Find out how they did it. And then if the market presently is $10, maybe you make $50 out of the 10. Hold on to that. When you get maybe $5,000 or $6,000, then try to find somebody who maybe has $6,000. Put your money together. Find a way to buy your little piece of property and then work it. You know, it doesn't have to be a great piece of property, but there are ways in which, if you really try to align yourself with people who maybe working hard, but they may have $10,000 or $12,000. You try to get, when your income tax comes, don't go spend it. Put it in the bank. 3 years, if you're smart, you may have $10,000. Right. Then find somebody else with 10 or 12. And you might be able to get started in business. It's hard to get startup money unless you have parents who have money. Right. So my suggestion to anyone who needs to open a business and they need some startup money to work 2 jobs, take 1 job and live out of it and save the money from the other job. Right. If you're young, it won't take you but 4 or 5 years to have enough money for a startup business. Mm-hmm. And that's how it goes, because we as a people, we don't have any money. Our cousins ain't got no money. You know, we don't know anybody with any money. Mm-hmm. But $10,000 or $12,000 or $13,000 is something that most people have somewhere if they're older. So talk to your older family members and ask them if they would invest a little money in your project that you're interested in. If it's real estate, that could be it. If it's something else, that could be it. But you got to have a little plan, and you got to use your head by talking to people, because people are the only way that you're ever going to be successful in anything, because you can't do it by yourself. No man is an island. But you do need to talk to people who are trying to do something so that you can get some ideas. And that's the only way you're going to make anything. I'm not saying you'll get rich like that, but what I am saying is that you might not be to the point where you're 60 years old and you have nothing. Because it's so difficult to take the money that you make every week and just live out of it and have anything unless you have a plan.
And you can't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Now,
Oh, no,
what we
you gotta
didn't
work
tell
hard
you about,
now.
initially when we first invested with those places, we did all the
Lord,
work
yes.
ourselves. We did all the plumbing.
All the
We
painting.
did all the electricity. We did all the cleaning. We did, when somebody moved in, we went in there and cleaned them ourselves, painted. We
Speedy.
did all the painting. We did all the work ourselves.
In
When
8
we first,
hours.
Yeah, when we first got those places, we even had Kima. Kima used to call herself the gorgeous. She was a little girl. She called it. I had her emptying out the garbage cans for all of the tenants. You know, she called herself. She said, "Aunt Ron, I'm the gorgeous garbage girl." I said, "Yes, you are." She gave herself a title, the gorgeous garbage girl. She worked, we all worked. So you can't be
Yeah, you
afraid to
gotta
get your
work
hands
hard.
dirty. You know, we did
And
all
be
the
willing
work
to
ourselves.
learn. And be willing to learn. You got to be teachable. Because everything that I know about real estate, I didn't learn it in school.
Right.
I learned it from someone else. So you got to be teachable. And you don't know anything. Because there's always somebody out there who knows 1,000,000 times more than you do. But you need to be trying to get the information from them so you can make money.
Well, you got to
And
be
there
willing
are
to get
people
your
who will
hands
help
dirty.
you, trust me. Because a lot of opportunities and doors that was open to me was only open because there were people willing to say, okay, you're trying to do this, let me help you. But if people don't see you trying to do anything, they don't want to help you. So it's really all about trying to reach out, to try to get information, using that information, and being teachable. Because I know that going to school is great. I know that that's how you get information. But also, you get information about business by talking to other business people.
Yeah, people who are in business.
So that's really key to trying to be successful in any business, not only real estate, but any business.
Right. Well, I definitely appreciate you both for the knowledge that you've dropped to the world. But I appreciate you all. Definitely.
And thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
How many properties do you all have now?
Is that how many we got, Kima? Together between the two of us? Oh, okay.
16 properties.
Yeah. Plus my 3. I got 6th Street, 520. Oh, okay. Yeah. But she has how many she has? 14, Kima? Okay. And I got what, 2? Okay, I got 2. Okay.
But then, out of the 14, I've got
Yeah.
12 units that is counted as 12 extra tenants because there's a triplex, a fourplex, and another triplex. So there's multifamily units in the 16 units, but this won't go on the news, I hope.
Oh no.
So there's a few more, but we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.